Terror on the UK's streets. The threat has been real for decades, but was Southport different? Here's what you need to know.
Under the Terrorism Act of 2000, it is defined as the use or threat of violence designed to influence government or intimidate the public for the purpose of a political, religious, racial or ideological cause. But Keir Starmer says terrorism is changing.
In the past, the predominant threat was highly organised groups with clear political intent, groups like Al-Qaeda. That threat, of course, remains. But now, alongside that, we also see acts of extreme violence perpetrated by loners, misfits, young men in their bedroom, accessing all manner of material online, desperate for notoriety.
The government says it has no plans to expand the definition of extremism, but Starmer's comments echo those made by the head of MI5 last October.
We're encountering more volatile would-be terrorists with only a tenuous grasp of the ideologies they profess to follow. People viewing both extreme right-wing and Islamist extremist instructional material, along with other bits of online hatred, conspiracy theories and disinformation.
Rudakubana fits into what the head of MI5 described as a crowdsourced model of pick-and-mix ideology. Yes, he had a copy of the Al-Qaeda training manual, but he also had documents about Nazi Germany and the Rwandan genocide.
From 160,000 documents seized, it was concluded he was simply obsessed with extreme violence. Indeed, you could say that was his ideology. Plots and mass acts of violence aren't always deemed terrorism.
We do not know why he chose that target. There is nothing that we have found as part of the investigation around the why. What we have found is this is a young person who was obsessed with violence. He had searched a whole genre of websites, social media sites, watched videos, read documents across that really wide spectrum.
So what do recent cases tell us? Teenagers Thomas Wiley and Alex Bolland conspired to use bombs to massacre fellow pupils at their school in Northallerton. In October 2017, anti-terrorism police were involved in their arrest, but their actions were not classed as terrorism. There was no ideology, no cause. When Ahmed Al-Sweilman blew himself up in the back of a taxi outside Liverpool Women's Hospital in November 2021, it was initially declared as an act of terrorism, but later thought to be motivated by a combination of anger over his failed asylum application and poor mental health.
Even the most clearly defined terrorists are often misfits with mental health problems and a pattern of escalating violence. In 2017, 5 people were killed and 50 injured when a terrorist drove his vehicle down this pedestrian area of Westminster Bridge and went on to stab a police officer to death. Khalid Massoud was a known extremist. Islamic State claimed responsibility for his actions, but research by criminologists at Birmingham City University found his history of violence was a means to assert his manliness and make up for other inadequacies. There's evidence he simply had a desire to kill. No one's quite sure how he was radicalised, but it may have been a flimsy justification for his violent nature.
So is terrorism changing? There are still the usual threats from terror groups and states that wish us harm. But experts point to an exploding increase in online misinformation on social media, where algorithms boost and amplify the sensational. Far-right memes have found an online home alongside extreme Islamist material. The problem's likely to get worse. Last year, TikTok announced plans to lay off content moderators in the UK. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg abandoned the use of independent fact-checkers on Facebook and Instagram. And X, under Elon Musk, has already gone in this direction. Several years ago now, the FBI identified what it called fringe political conspiracy theories, playing an increasing role in motivating domestic extremists to commit violent acts. Former FBI Director Christopher Wray called the mixing of personal grievances with often incoherent ideas off the internet a salad bar ideology. So could redefining terrorism help authorities in their investigations? The PREVENT programme was set up to stop the spread of terrorism in the UK, and about 6,000 to 7,000 people with extremist views or behaviour are referred to it every year. Only a few hundred of them are selected to go on a de-radicalisation programme called Channel. This isn't always effective. Notably, Ali Harbury Ali convinced people on Channel that he was reformed when actually he was becoming more devoted to Islamic State ideology. He went on to murder MP David Amess. The number of people referred to PREVENT with conflicted or no ideology has been growing and now makes up 36% of all referrals. Rudakubana fell into that category the 3 times he was referred to PREVENT before his attack, and a judgment was made he did not require intervention.
The PREVENT programme
PREVENT has failed.
The PREVENT programme was.
Mark, say it.
The PREVENT programme does lots of good work. It clearly, the PREVENT officers didn't feel this was a case for them, and it was better dealt with by others.
Why won't you say the word failed?
The system has failed. I mean, somewhere in the system between PREVENT, local authorities, mental health, all of those systems, the system failed to get its hands around him.
The challenge around the PREVENT programme is people wanting it to deliver something it's not designed to deliver. Terrorism is ideologically driven. If you refer somebody into the PREVENT programme that doesn't have an ideological foundation to their belief or their extreme belief, then the PREVENT programme is not the place for them. Now, I really welcome this idea of a public inquiry because I hope that it will get really into the weeds of all of this. And what we've seen historically when we've had suggestions of failure around the PREVENT programme is that actually there's a collective failing of society to intervene at a number of opportunities. And certainly from what's being reported in the media, that feels like the case here. Or sometimes the case doesn't even fit any of the criteria that we set for state intervention.
So do we need to identify a non-ideological form of terrorism? The reason the definition matters in terms of policing is that it gives them greater powers. Officers had a maximum of 72 hours to charge or release Rudakubana, but under the Terrorism Act this would have extended to a week. Section 47A of the Act also gives senior police officers the power to authorise more stringent stop and searches if terrorism is suspected. Therefore, the definition could aid authorities in the act of stopping it. But it could also add caseloads to our overstretched security services.
The problem is MI5, the people in the building behind me, already have a full workload. They say they have foiled 43 late-stage terror plots since March 2017. They have 3,000 live subjects of interest, people they are investigating, although a lot of them are overseas. And they have 40,000 closed cases. Again, a lot of people who have never come to the UK.
MI5 may have enough on their plate with rogue states and known terror groups. But equally dangerous now are young men like Rudakubana who disappear into disturbing online worlds upstairs in their bedrooms.
He was able to curate and indulge in his warped fantasy until he was ready to inflict it upon the softest of targets. Does that make him a terrorist or just a monster? In Liverpool Crown Court, a girl who he'd attacked but miraculously escaped perhaps found the best word: coward.